Aloha to the warriors out there. I road to 45, day 20, and wanted to actually dig into like doing the grunt work, whenever and whatever it may be. Doing the grunt work actually gets you more than you ever expected out as a result. So yeah, I wanted to actually dig into that. Uh, a lot of times, like when we're working in spaces and places, it takes a lot for things to happen, right? So when I look at grunt work, I look at the hands on, the nitty gritty stuff like lifting and placing things, the brute work that comes with whatever it is that you're doing, right? So for instance, like if you're running a program, like a summer program, or just any kind of program, there's a lot of grunt work that goes into designing a plan for activities, right? So there is the organizing, there is the loading and unloading of things. There is the being in contact with other people, doing the communication part of getting this activity off the ground. And to me, like the grunt work, sometimes is that's the part that most people you see it, but you don't get to really see the result, right? So when you're watching people do the grunt work, you don't necessarily get to see the result of where that's gonna be. And as we were doing this event this weekend on being here on Oahu, I was like, there's a lot of work that goes in, like just physical labor. And I was watching, even though we were setting up our space and our venue, the event itself, was massive, right? You're at Bishop Museum, you're on the lawn, there's a stage, there's halaus that are gonna come out with their kumuhula, there's a band, there's live music, there's vendors, there's food vendors, there's art vendors, there's activities for kids, there's a kupuna tent. So like, and you think about like all that grunt work, like who's moving the stanchions, who's lifting um, and putting stakes in the ground to mark out the different boots and numbering labeling the numbers on the ground for the booths that's people are occupying, or they're gonna use that space. And so that grunt work, I look at that grunt work, and I was watching like people just move through spaces and being like, some people are initiative takers, right? They're the ones that figure out the organization. They're the ones that, this group, you guys are here. I need you, three of you guys here. Uh, the truck is coming in with more stanchions for crowd control. Um, and then there's the ones that actually do all the heavy lifting. They're the ones that taking the stanchions out of the trucks. They're the ones driving the trucks, backing up into spaces where it makes it easier for the loading and offloading crew to move and maneuver, right? Working smarter and not harder. And so when I look at that grunt work, I look at the grit it takes to do that work. And I look at what's going to be the end result of all that work, all that grunt work. And at the end, like I think like, how many of us actually through all of that work gets to realize the end result? And 9 out of 10 times, that end result ends up being much larger, much more effective, or much more um, felt by others because they get to benefit from that grunt work. And so when I think about things like, yeah, sure, as an artist, I could have my work in galleries. And trust me, if it's been there, it's been in galleries in towns and cities that I haven't even visited. But I've had my artwork being accepted into spaces that I've never been to yet, and it's great. It's an absolutely great feeling to feel. But at the same time, like, what did it take to get to that point? And I always get humbled by the fact that the grunt work is just times I've been setting up and breaking down my own booth and my art booth and my vendor booth, because that that grunt work is the humbling part of what makes you you, what makes you the artist that you are, you know. And so I got to experience that this week being on Oahu. I got to see like putting in that work and see the people that come around and help you and help build with you. And I never want to ever take them for granted. And I hope they know that even when I may not say the words in in so many ways. Like I so appreciate those who come out and show up and show out to help me with the grunt work, right? Because if I stop doing the small little things that got me to those galleries and cities I've never been to, then I haven't done any due justice to those who helped me build from where I was, you know. And so every time I get a chance, or every so often where I get a chance to go back to doing the vending and the setting up my booth, whether it's outdoors or in an event inside a building, those little events is the humbling part of what I get to do and where my work and my artwork gets to be. Um, Nationally, statewide, nationally, and internationally, I have seen my work in spaces amongst many great artists, and yet at the same time, like setting up a booth and the wind blowing your stuff all over the place and figuring out how you go from the whole day being in a booth to nighttime, and where's your lights and how is people going to see your items that you're selling, and in that little stuff, like bringing my student slash niece into this space will teach them and that generation like how to do the work, not just the fact that they gotta do it, but how to do it. Right, giving them the stepping tools, stepping stones to do the work, do the grunt work. Know that you can do that work, so that when your work goes out and you get to see your work hanging in massive cities, city halls, and stuff like that, you never forget where you came from. And that grunt work is what teaches you never to forget where you come from. So I'm very, very, very humbled and very, very blessed to have had the peoples around me this weekend to help with their hands and their minds and how to set things up and what looks nice and how do we want to display this. All of those little details count. So never forget that. And if you have an opportunity for a good cause to be a part of a movement that is bigger than you and that's going to be here longer than you are, Road to 45 really is about what's next. So that's what I wanted to share. Like the grant work, that you don't realize how much comes out of it at the end, and you get more than you expected when you start going back to that basics, of just making sure you know how to set up a tent, you know how to put up a table, you know how to dress a table, you know how to do all these other things. Yes, again, your work looks beautiful when you just send them the PDF and they print it and they put it up in their galleries and their exhibitions and all that work. But we didn't get to that point without doing this kind of work. We didn't get there without doing the hard work. Who's gonna show up? Who's getting the coffee? Who's running? Who's remembering the tape and the scissors and the knives and the hammers and all of this? That grunt work. That's the stuff. That's the foundational part of where you can be in a, another country where your work is hanging with some massive, well-known artists. Don't forget the grunt work, because again, that grunt work is gonna give you more than you ever expected, and tenfold when you're doing it in a community, for a community, for the betterment of that community. So mahalo to Putty Foundation for allowing us to be here this weekend. Mahalo to all the halals that were there at Ilaw Kahula. I look forward to seeing more opportunities coming out so that we can bring the next generation into the fold and teach them, hands-on how to get this work done so that they can be better advocates for them and themselves and their work. So aloha, and I hope you guys are doing great. And always keep aloha in your heart, because never aloha in your heart, you're more aloha to share with the world. And truly, honestly believe that aloha saves over 1% of the time. So please take aloha wherever you go. Aloha and ahui ho.